I think that the Bank of England attitude towards workers isn't fair. Now, the Bank of England in the past year has caused some controversy by saying explicitly that people should expect to be poorer with the inflation that we've seen over the past year. This actually got quite a lot of negative press and even resulted in some apologies from the bank. So the bank is now more careful in what it says. But the governor of the Bank of England, Andrew Bailey, was yesterday giving evidence to the House of Lords Economic Affairs Committee. And I think that he subtly revealed that the same attitude prevails. He was talking about wage bargaining and says that he would prefer workers to be forward-looking, not backward-looking when negotiating pay increases. And there is a logic to this, that the Bank of England has a laser-like focus on the anchor of that 2% inflation target. And so the governor was expressing a preference that in wage demands, the workers will have the expectation that the Bank of England will achieve that 2% target, and that this would help to control inflation, and that this should be taken into account in pay claims. So it all sounds very reasonable, but why is this unfair? Well, inflation shocks like COVID, Ukraine, labour shortages, of course, these weren't predicted by the Bank of England or anyone, so that previous forward-looking wage demands were unable to take into account the fact that we were going to have these massive price increases over the past year. And it's my opinion that it's totally unreasonable to expect workers to eat these increases. After all, even if inflation falls, no prices are going down. The high prices that we currently have are here to stay. Now, companies have been able to increase prices and maintain their profits, but the Bank of England hardly mentions that. There's a really disproportionate focus on wages. And there's a further point here, that the 2% expectation for future inflation is based on an assumption that there will be no more inflation shocks. But we live in very turbulent times, and no one really knows what's going to happen. There is a chance that another shock happens later this year and inflation doesn't go down. We had a story in today's FT about how changes in customs procedures are going to lead to a significant rise in food prices next year, and that this will be inflationary. So no one really knows what's going to happen to inflation. And it's unreasonable to expect workers just to assume that inflation is going to be less than 2% going forwards. We have an economic policy that implicitly thinks it's okay that we have real pay cuts to workers as a policy tool. This will help to achieve the inflation target. So in terms of the Bank of England's remit, I can understand the logic of what they're saying. But this is an economic policy of prioritising business over people. But what's new? I hope you found this information useful. My name's Cliff Stevenson. I'm the Helpful Economist. See you next time.